Testing. Check, check. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. My mic sounds nice. Peace and love. Blessings to everyone. How you doing tonight on this cold December evening? Today is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. And we are stepping into it. Stepping into the winter, stepping into the seasons that are changing. Um, Peace and love to Fertile Ground in that beautiful tune. Hope everyone's doing well. And I am back again um, as we prepare to close out the year of 2025 coming up on the horizon. We have our final two guests of this year, and then we're going to move into the January on the calendar year. I'll go over to discuss that on the close to the last show of the year, which is going to be December 18th. But tonight I'm coming back in as promised. When I came in and did this promo for this show that we did with Dr. Henry Gregory, I was so feeling so bad and so under the weather. I was tired. Um, I was dealing with some vertigo, which was really affecting me. It really was affecting my ability to communicate. Um, and it had gotten so bad during the course of the show that I just had to shut it down, and I didn't get a chance to really go into deep detail on what my intentions were and what I had prepared to discuss. So I'm back again now. I'm going to follow back up with what I was discussing during through the Probo last 2 weeks ago. Now, that being said, I still am struggling with looking for a name for this show because I've mentioned before that having a conversation with my nana, my spiritual and my spiritual father, uh, who has been who had been in the industry and doing radio for a number of years, comes with a level of expertise, comes with advice and direction. Basically, told me you have your show that's titled a promo. Peace and love, peace and blessings to you, nephew. How you doing this evening? Yeah, we are at 105, and we're going to go over that tomorrow. I want to be able to when we come in tomorrow. I want to be able to share that information with our audience, with our family who comes in, and enjoys um, tomorrow's show. But basically, he told me that look, you have promo attached to a show that's lasting about an hour. He said that's not a promo. He said a promo only lasts 15 minutes at the most. And as I was doing my Wednesday shows, I saw that these shows were getting longer and longer. They did start off about 15, 20 minutes, but it was so much information that I was willing to share that that the shows began to increase and grow in length. And which started off as a promo is no longer, it's still considered to be me promoting the show for the main show on the health wall, but it's still something that I can't attach the name promo to it because it's much more than that. So I'm still coming up with a name uh to to uh to name this show that we come in on Wednesday, or that I come in on Wednesdays. And hopefully this will grow into something as equal to what the health walk grows in has grown in on Thursday. So we'll see how this plays out. So I'm gonna do a poll. If you can come up with a name, and I know David, you came up with a few names um, that you email me or put in the comments, and I've been kicking it around. I gave it some consideration and thought, and maybe it sounded okay, but it didn't grab me. It didn't hit the way I was looking for it to hit. But I'll go back and reflect on it and see what I can come up with. I asked for spirit, the spirit to guide me, whatever name that's downloaded into me, into my spirit. That's what I'm gonna go with. But right now, it hasn't been named, and I'm still kicking around names. Peace and love to you, brother Ricky. How you doing? Peace and love to you. Peace and blessings to you. You always, it's always a blessing to hear you and see you come in and be a part of these shows that we do. Hope the family's doing well. Um, yeah. Before I came in, I was sorry for my apology. I'm apologizing for being late because I was in a temple meeting and the temple meeting went slightly over. Fine, because we were talking about some deep information that's that's personal to the temple and how it's and our responsibilities and how we grow. So I wasn't concerned about us going over and me coming into this show late. It all ties in because the information that is shared in our temple meetings, um, it prompts me to be prepared for what I'm going to come in and have a discussion about today. Um, so I came prior to the meeting. I was pulling out information because I wanted to have a decide what I wanted to have discussion around, and I do have a full run sheet that I'll go through. But gosh, y'all's president, as crazy as this man is, the people who he has around him, they must be geniuses because some of the things, some of the shit that this man is doing, I mean, he's taking a sledgehammer to everything. And I just read that he rolled back some of the um, provisions that were put in place by the previous administration that was a start to be able to address some of the issues um, that is caused by fossil fuels and how that affects the climate and things that we really should be concerned with going forward. Um, living in here on this planet because there is no. I mean, it's not. It's no longer a mystery. It's no longer an argument that we're dealing with some adverse issues with climate change. So the previous administration, the Biden administration, had put some restrictions on uh, some of the vehicles that were fueled by gasoline. They were just trying to find ways to be able to increase the effectiveness of how much or how far vehicles can travel on a gallon of gas. Then da 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 da. Well, in Trump's infinite wisdom, he attacked that policy and was saying that it was destroying the ability for the car manufacturers to sell cars, and again, the manufacturers aren't interested in what is going to be a benefit to the planet. They're not interested in what's going to be a benefit to the people who are purchasing their cars. Their bottom line is we want to find out how much money we can make, how many dollars that we can fleece and exploit from the people to align our pockets with. So they weren't concerned about the effects that these gasoline guzzlers were and the emissions that were being pumped out into the atmosphere and the effect that it had on the climate on this planet. They were more concerned about how much dollars that they can align their pockets, and which also is aligned these with the oil barons who uh, have an effect on um, that has an effect on or is able to the amount of money that they were able to fleece of the people in the car manufacturers selling the cars, the people, the citizens purchasing the cars, and the which requires them to run off of gasoline. If gasoline doesn't have any restrictions on how many mileage that a gallon of gas will go in a vehicle, that eliminates or that now back opens back up the door for people to purchase large vehicles, but large gas guzzling vehicles like SUVs and large trucks, because we know SUVs and trucks do not get the same amount of mileage off of a gallon of gas that a small economy car would get. So they're happy about this because now this means that they can sell more cars and fleece the money from the people. This means that when these cars or these vehicles don't longer have any restrictions on being able to extend the amount of mileage that a gallon of gas is going to that's gonna be the amount of mileage that a car can run on a gallon of gas. When you decrease that, that means people are spending more and more money at the pump, which makes the oil barons even happier because now their pockets continue to become aligned. So we see that these things that are taking place in this administration and everything that makes sense about preserving life and making sure that there is a future for people living in this planet, everything, even particularly in this country, first and foremost, people in this country, to make sure and sustain the ability for people to live and have a healthy life. Everything that goes along that is a component of that is being rolled back, and now people's lives are being threatened, people's healths are being threatened. The Earth's atmosphere continues to be polluted with fossil fuels, and it's all because people have greed in their heart without any concern or any compassion about how life is going to look in this country going forward, or how life is going to look in the world going forward. Other people around other countries around the world, first so-called first world nations around the world, they've gotten the picture. They understand how important it is to start dealing with these fossil fuels and how it's affecting the atmosphere, how it's contributing to climate change. They've gotten it, and they've been continually being a part to find ways to be able to decrease the amount of fossil fuels that are being burned into the atmosphere. But this country, because it is all about the dollar first, all about the capitalistic mind, all about exploiting the people first, is their objective. They forget and have forgotten and do not have a care about what happens to the people in this country and people in the world going forward. So that being said, I just want to bring that up. Um, yeah. Have y'all heard this? I know it's been in the news. This story broke last week, I think it was. Well, the story was written um, on the 16th of September about Campbell's soup. And but of course it went viral. I think it was last week that it went viral, or at least I was introduced to it. But just like everything else that we've been dealing with polluting the air, polluting the water, polluting the environment, which is one of the key elements that we tend to discuss here on the Health Walk, which is talking about environmental health, one of the six pillars of health, one of them being environmental health. Campbell's Soup was caught dumping, was it 5,400 gallons? I'm sorry. They were caught dumping 5,400 times the amount of toxicants in a local river in Ohio. It says the Environment Ohio Lake River Lake Erie Waterkeeper in U.S. Environment. Let me see. Me read through this. Um, so Campbell Soup Supply Company admitted to violating the Clean Water Act in response to court documents filed by multiple environmental agencies. So they violated the Clean Water Act over 5,400 times. So they said, well, what does this involve when you have an act that you are in violation of 5,400 times? Once it gets to the level of 5,400 acts of violation, that's no longer an accident. Those are intentional acts because you've done this and you've violated the act more than what can be considered to be average. So you were egregious in your behaviors and your actions. But what they've done was it was just like um, uh, the Flint water crisis where toxins were dumped into the local area that affected the citizens of Flint. This went on for years before anyone was even had even been aware of what was happening with Campbell soup. So they're dumping toxins in a local river that eventually pours into Lake Erie, which is used for drinking as a drinking supplies as well for areas of Ohio and I think Eastern Michigan might pipe into Lake Erie as well. But these are things that are happening in the environment where capitalism just continues to run wild. You know, it continues to run unchecked because people are not concerned with what's happening with the health of the community or the citizens. They're more concerned. Their objective is to find out how much money that they could accumulate and how easily they can do it. So when you have restrictions that are in place like the Clean Air Act, there's certain protocols that you have to follow, which requires you to spend money. You have to find ways to be able to expose toxic waste or toxic dump uh, correctly, which requires you to spend some money to do that. So if nobody's looking or somebody's head is being turned away, they're going to take the opportunity to dump the toxins into a local river or into a lake and say, I don't give a damn what kind of effects this has on the people who are drinking from this lake or who this water source is being pumped into people's municipal water facilities where they have to drink the water or they have to bathe the water or things or have to cook with the water. Well, that's not our concern. Our concern is how can we cut these corners and get away from having to pay for the correct disposal of the toxic waste and just dump it into the rivers. Capitalism is like a spider. Um, where's that? Let me see if I can find that. Because I posted this on I think I posted this on Instagram. Mm, Hope everyone is doing well again. Where is hmm, when did I post this? Hmm, Okay, here it is. Let me see if I can share this. Mm-mm, mm, Share screen.
Capitalism is like a spider. The web is getting tighter. I'm struggling like a fighter. Just do bust nuisance like a nuisance. Asphyxiation.
All right. I'm just messing around. Capitalism is like a spider. Yep. The web is getting tighter. So this is what we're faced with under this administration and things that are happening. That is not for the benefit and the health of people. It's for the benefit and the exploitation of people's pockets is what we're dealing with. Um, yeah, we're gonna have to find some way to be able to. We're gonna have to find some way to get out of this mess or this hole in this country that we continue to dig for ourselves because things are getting tight, things are getting sticky here. Definitely here in this country that is beginning to affect other parts of the world. Let me see what we got going on here. All right, brother Chago, what's going on, brother? Peace and blessings to you this evening. We got you asked for her to come back, and Haroldess Odama will be here tomorrow. So I hope you were able to join in with us tomorrow evening for her heralding return. Y'all like what I did there? Y'all like that? All right, let me move on. Dealing with seasons change, and I chose the song by Fertile Ground because they were talking about seasons change. I mean, there's some um, esoteric information that's wrapped in that into that song. If you're not familiar with Fertile Ground, um, check out their music. They're no longer a group that's together. They kind of disbanded. I believe it was like in the mid 2000s, but they put out I think it was three or four albums or CDs that they put out that had some very spiritual meanings, some not revolutionary, more spiritual tunes that were provoking, esoteric tunes that were thought provoking. And I chose that particular tune because we're talking about seasons changing because we are going into the change of the season. And what's the date? The third. In 18 days, we'll be deeply into the winter solstice and going into the winter solstice and then eventually coming out as the sun makes his trek down into, as they identify in Cometian science, makes his way down into the crypt, stays there for 3 days. I'm saying something here. Stays there for 3 days and then becomes resurrected. Hmm, interesting. As it makes this trek back to the birth of the new year, which is in the spring. So naturally, during this time of the year, and this is what I was getting into um, on the last promo. Naturally, during this time of the year, where the nights lengthen and the days shorten, the body has the is in tune with its circadian clock, where it begins to naturally start to slow down. And this is what happens on the planet in the eastern, excuse me, in the northern hemisphere. And it also happens in the southern hemisphere. Where most of us here watching this show tonight, we're in the northern hemisphere, which means that right now we're about to go into the winter months. We're coming out of fall into winter. And as the nights begin to grow and the days begin to shorten in length, our bodies begin to adjust to the natural light that exists from the sun, and it triggers the body to begin to start to slow down, just as all the other life, whether it's animal life or plant life on the planet, begins to slow down as well. We see that the trees become dormant; they lose their leaves in the fall of the year. Then in the wintertime, they become completely dormant, and they're not dead; they're dormant in preparation of them regaining their energy retooling and are retooling their energy in preparation for them to have their rebirth in the spring. So all these species follow the same format, the same function that during this time of the year, things slow down. This also happens for us. Our body naturally begins to slow down in the winter months, but we have this propensity because we are so tied into having to work day in and day out for long extended hours. We find ways to be able to trick ourselves into thinking that we are coping or circumventing the natural process that takes place physically in our circadian clock. But as you notice, when the days become short and the nights become long, we naturally begin to find ourselves losing energy at a particular time of the day, usually around somewhere between 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. We start to find ourselves getting having less energy. And it really depends on the type of lifestyles that we live in as well. But naturally, we'll begin to slow down. This happens because we have less sunlight. Well, what happens when we have less sunlight? The body naturally goes into beginning to start the secretion process of secreting melanin. Melanin is what is secreted during night hours that assists us in being able to sleep and get a healthy and wholesome sleep at night in preparation for the next day. Well, because we are now dealing with artificial light where we have lights, we can utilize different lights and the intensity of lights to kind of trick our psyche and thinking that we are consuming the same light that comes naturally from the sun. We have the ability to stay up longer and longer hours. Whereas in during this time of the year, we should actually take the key from nature and begin to slow down. What happens when we slow down? When we slow down, we start to retool and repair our bodies, repair our cells in preparation for the heightened point that comes back in the spring of the year. This involves us having to become more cognizant of how many hours a night that we're sleeping. More often than not, and I fall victim to this as well. More often than not, we fall asleep with unnatural light in our bedrooms, which our bedroom should be if we can should be pitch dark because that is the signal for the pineal gland to start secreting melanin, which helps us to be able to have a good night's sleep. But we have night lights, you know, we have night lights in our bedrooms. We fall asleep with the TV on, and which interrupts our ability, or the pineal gland. It interrupts the ischemic, which interrupts the ability of the pineal gland to effectively secrete melanin or melatonin. I'm sorry, which is which assists us in being able to get adequate rest and adequate sleep. So when you have these artificial lights on in your bedroom, the melatonin does not become secreted as effectively as it would if the lights were turned off or that your room was pitch dark, because that's the signal for the pineal gland to begin to go into its full force to start secreting melatonin. If you notice that when we have a good night's sleep, we don't have any any lights on in our bedroom. Uh, the lights we have some of the people who sleep at night, they block out completely any light that comes in from their windows from the outside to make sure that their rooms are pitch dark. This allows your body to go into a deep, what they call deep meditated REM sleep. And when we go into deep meditated REM sleep, this is when our body gets fully rested, our cells become repaired, everything and other things that take place in a night's sleep that allows us to be able to regenerate and repair ourselves through the night cycle. This doesn't normally occur in this society because we are forcing ourselves to go beyond what or go against what is a natural process for us as we continue to move further and further away from what is a natural phenomenon for all living species on this planet. How do we get this back? First of all, we think that we need to do is we need to recognize and realize that we are out of sync and out of balance and start to come back into full compliance uh, with what is natural in life. Come back in full sync in what is natural in life so that will allow us to be able uh, to balance or rebalance our health. It's important and it's necessary for us to do that. Otherwise, we'll continually fighting an uphill battle to maintain our health. I don't know how important, or I don't think people realize how important it is for us to get adequate um, sleep during the course of the night, or how important it is for us to get proper rest during the course of the night. How important it is for ourselves and for the revitalization of ourselves and of our body. Excuse me. Let me take some water. Talking. Yeah. The revitalization of ourselves and the reparation of ourselves and balancing our health during the course of the night. I don't think people realize how important it is for us to get adequate sleep. As I was coming in before I was coming in, we were having a meeting, as I said, with our temple of Inyame, with our Nana, who has um, begun to readjust his life because you can see he was starting to wear down with all of the tasks that he had to perform during the course of the day. He said he wasn't getting adequate sleep at night, and he began to change his regimen. He goes to bed much earlier during in the evening, so that he can have adequate rest, adequate sleep, so that he can prepare himself uh, in the morning to get up and do what's necessary for him to complete his task. Well, this evening during the meeting, I complimented in him in noticing that there has been a drastic increase in his energy. And I asked him, I said, "Well, Nana, what have you done or what are you doing? Are you getting it seems like your energy is higher than what it has been in the past. What is it that you're doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm getting rest. I'm sleeping when I'm going to sleep when I'm supposed to, and I'm getting the adequate amount of sleep that is necessary for me to repair and retool my body in preparation for the task that I have for the next day." One of the things that I do advise us all to do that in this time of in this time during the winter solstice is start to incorporate these ideas into your daily life. Start to make it a good habit to going to sleep with no lights on in your room, going to sleep at a respectful hour at night, not thinking that we can stay up until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, particularly those who are still working and have to do it 9 to 5, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and thinking that after we done 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep, that we can get up the next morning and still be able to be functional. That's not going to happen. You're going to pay a price for that each time that you do it. And as you make that a habit day by day, you're starting to dig a grave for yourself. You're digging a hole for yourself that is going to be very difficult for you to dig out of or to get out of. Um, sleep deprivation is one of the uh, sleep deprivation is one of the factors that is that goes into the poor health of us. It is one of the is it's becoming quickly becoming um, a problem for us, particularly in this country, because we do not get adequate sleep. And I'm gonna some other things I want to get into as well, but I want to show the importance of why it's necessary for us to stay in sync and in tune with the things that are happening in this life cycle, in this season. Now is the time as we go into the winter and dealing with the winter solstice or the season of winter. Now is the time to be able to regain and rebalance ourselves and resync ourselves with things that are natural. And I'm going through this and I'm using sleep, the need for adequate sleep as an example to nail home or to hammer home this point. So sleep deprivation is one of the factors that goes along with poor health. So it says here's an article that I pulled off of I forgot where I got this article from, and I don't think I have this. No, I don't. Anyway, this is the article, the effects of sleep deprivation on your body. So not getting enough sleep drains your mental abilities and puts your physical health at risk. Science has linked inadequate sleep with a number of health problems from weight gain with weakened immune system. So these are some of the things that inadequate sleep or sleep deprivation affects. It affects the central nervous system. It affects the immune system. It affects the respiratory system. It affects the digestive system. It affects the cardiovascular system, and it affects the endocrine system. That's basically all the systems in your body that uh, sleep deprivation affects. So again, keep in mind that it is a necessary. It is a necessity to make sure that we are getting adequate rest at night. Um, this is in my one of my texts, Healthy Living, where in this chapter it talks about sleepless society, millions of Americans undersleep by choice. And this again is by choice, but it's also forced choice because we have been conditioned to think that we can do these things um, in extended periods of working and building continually to burn our energy working and doing other things, other strenuous activities in a course of a day. They tell us that try to divide the day into thirds: 8 hours sleep, 8 hours of work, 8 hours play. But honestly, very rarely that we even get 8 hours of sleep. So millions of Americans undersleep by choice, burning the candle at both ends because of hectic work and family schedules. Americans sleep 7 hours each night on average, down from an average of 9 hours. And this was just as recently as 1910, when people generally went to sleep as darkness fell. So even in the early 1900s, it was where uh, the um, the utilization of artificial light wasn't as prominent then as it is now. They still maintain a schedule where they were getting adequate sleep because they aligned themselves with what was happening in during with these circadian rhythms, and which was aligned with the sun. So when the sun went down or when darkness fell, that's when people normally took the time um, to follow that pattern and begin to shut down uh, and become or get into a mode of sleeping as well. But as artificial lights begin to become prominent in society, in our houses, in our homes, we stay up later and later and later and later. There was once upon a time where TV would shut down at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I can't remember what time it was, where the TV was shut down. All the channels would go offline, and then that forced people to turn their TVs off and go to bed and and get some sleep because there was nothing on TV to watch. Now you can sit and watch TV all night long, and you never, when you have the TV in your room burning light or beaming light into your eyes, um, uh, constantly while you're falling, while you think you're actually in a deep sleep, that is affecting you as well. So I implore you to turn off that TV, get some sleep, get adequate amounts of sleep, get adequate amounts of rest. And now's the time. Now's the season to do it because this is in the time where we are. We should take this time to start utilizing the uh, the natural, um, what is natural to us to naturally slow down. Sorry, let me retool my thing, my train of thought. This is a time where we can take advantage of naturally slowing down, staying in sync with what is a natural process here on this planet, and begin to repair our cells, begin to repair and rebalance our health in preparation for what's to come in the spring of the year, which is in next March coming. How do we do that? Well, there's different techniques that we can utilize as we begin to slow down and rebalance our health. There is always We can always take on the practice of meditation. Meditation is good for this time of the year. When we start to see the sun set, which now is about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we can prepare to begin to wind down our day. And once we start to wind down our day, we can make preparations to go into meditation, which slows us down even more. It puts us into a mode of reflection. Is it? I got here in the promo, the season for reflection part two. We're allowed to go inside of self and become more aware of what's happening in self, and become more reflective of what's happening in self, and become in tuned with who we are and what our responsibilities are as we embrace the changing of the seasons. So meditation is a good key to do that. Meditation is something that a tool that is used quite often around different cultures across the world, and it's used to be able to help us slow down and be reflective in life. We can also utilize yoga. Yoga is also a good practice, and it has the same function as meditation. Meditation and yoga normally go hand in hand. They're both, they kind of are tied to each other. When you are practicing yoga, the and in the course of practicing yoga, it also teaches you to sit with self and meditate. So these are exercises that can be incorporated or utilized in your day to day life in preparation for the seasons that are changing. It allows us to be able to become reflective and becomes spiritually in tune with self, so that we have a clearer mind and a clearer thought going into the new year. There's journaling. Um, I don't know how many people are familiar with journaling, but and you may not think that journaling has it that is not as effective as you may not think it's effective at all, but actually it is, because journaling allows us to be able to sit with self. Again, all this is about sitting with self, and being able to have a clarity of thought and writing our thoughts down on in a booklet or down on paper to kind of um, retool our thinking, clear up our thinking, and gives us a clear understanding of where we are and what we're doing and our purpose in life and how we can continue to move upward and elevate upward to achieve the goals or the divine purpose that's been given to us. Journaling allows us to be able to sort out those ideas and those thoughts. And it also forces us to be able to sit down and be patient in writing and thinking through what it is that is in our head or in our spirit. It forces us to be able to sit down and put that pen to paper and utilize our thinking and put our thoughts out on paper. And it forces us to be again to be reflective in self. This is utilizing this exercise again is something that is beneficial to us during this time of the year. Everything that's happening from the time that fall came, uh, all from the time that fall came into um, started. Let me see, came into by the time that fall started in September up to the 21st of December and onwards, life has begun. The energy of the planet had begun to slow down, and we should be in sync with that as well. We should be slowing down as well. When we exercise these techniques or put these techniques into play, that allows us to be able to start to slow down and be in sync with the energy that's happening here on the planet. And as I said, meditation, yoga, journaling, and reflection are ways to be able to do that. I would encourage us, those who are listening tonight, I would encourage you to do that and begin to incorporate and exercise that in your daily life. Well, do your prayers, do your meditation, do your quieting time. You'll be amazed of how quickly you will become in sync with things that are happening here on the planet and how much energy that you will accumulate just by incorporating these basic techniques into your daily life. You can trust and believe this is something that I do at night and in the morning. I get up and do my meditation and prayer every morning, and it does have a resounding effect on my day. Um, so meditation, yoga, journaling, and reflection will help us to stay in sync and in tune with the changing of seasons here on the planet. Now, why am I encouraging us to do this? Because when we continue to burn the energy, when we continue to go against what is the natural process of life, it puts undue stress on our health. When our body is stressed out, it begins to affect us mentally, spiritually, and physically. It it makes us susceptible to illnesses and diseases, and which could eventually turn into debilitating illnesses and diseases. So these are contributing to how much stress we have in our life. Not only that, it also forces us into premature aging. And there's been studies that have been done about um our chromosomes and how our chromosomes within our cells, as apoptosis takes place, which apoptosis is when the cells die or cells death. When apoptosis takes place, is just the death of the cell, but stress accelerates the cell death. There is a the endings that are on the chromosomes of a cell. They call it uh, telomeres. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that or not, but it's called telomeres. It's Telomeres, telomeres. If you look at it, you do a search on it, it will tell you what they are and what how they look. Well, at the beginning of life, um, in particular the life of a cell, the telomeres are extremely long, and this is the ending of the chromosomes. But as the cell, as the life of the cell begins to increase, the telomeres that are in the chromosomes of that cell begin to shorten. And as they shorten, that signals at when they get to a level um, where the telomeres are shortened to a level that signals the cell that now is it has a signal for the cell that now the cell is entering into what they call apoptosis. That signal is based upon the length of the telomeres. When the telomeres are under, or when the cells are under extreme amount of stress, that forces those telomeres to decrease much quicker than the normal pace. And when that happens and continually happens, that's when you'll start to see the process of premature aging taking place. Stress is something that induces the behavior of those telomeres to shorten at a much quicker pace than what they would naturally do. So it is extremely important for us to be able to find ways to reduce stress in our life. And this again, this points me back to what I was indicating, that staying in sync and in tune with the cycles of life, staying in sync and in tune with the patterns and the seasons that exist here on the planet, taking advantage of what is a natural process here on the planet at different seasons: spring, summer, winter, fall. The springtime is rebirth, is when we come back and we begin to revitalize and revitalize our health, revitalize our energy, going into the heightened point of the summer, where our energy is at its highest peak. All plant life, animal life, whatever on the planet in the summer is when our energy is at its highest point, because there's more sunlight that is being reflected down on us. But as the sun begins to make its trek back down into going closer to the fall of the year, when things begin to slow and the seasons change again, this is a signal for us to start in preparation for the winter months, when we go into hibernation. Now, I know we don't necessarily, we human beings, same Homo sapiens sapien, does not hibernate like other species on the planet does, but we can still exercise the same philosophy in being able to slow down and start to revitalize our energy, begin to repair our energy. We begin to repair ourselves in preparation for the coming new year, which happens in the spring. Um, so yeah, so that's that's what I basically wanted to share with you uh tonight, and that's what I was attempting to share the last time I was on, when I couldn't get through what I was discussing. But before I go, there's a couple of passages that I would like to read, just kind of reiterate the purpose of starting to slow down, or wanting or having the need to slow down. So this is from one of our texts, is Odu Ifa. Odu Ifa. This is the ethical teachings of Odo Ifa. This text is by Maulana Karinga, but these are our African sayings, or African proverbs or teachings that is taught in the Yoruba tradition, taught in the Ifa tradition, taught in the Akan tradition, um, and having to read through these through these teachings and being able to incorporate the philosophy into my life, has opened up the a deeper and profound understanding of what African teachings and African philosophy is about. Not that I didn't already know some, but being introduced to these teachings makes my understanding even deeper. So there was a poly or a verse that I was coming across while I was preparing for tonight's show that I would like to read, and then I'm going to close out with "As a Man Thinketh." So this is Obe, AJ Obe, I'm sorry, EJI OGBA, EJ Ogbe, and the saying is in the passage is saying this: Arumala is God. Arumala says it should be done little by little. I say it is little by little we eat the head of the fish. We are not as large as the elephant, nor as sturdy as the buffalo. The sash worn underneath is not equal to the sash tied on top. No noble is as great as the Oni of Ife. No string of cowries is as long as that of Yemadurjabe. Yemadurjabe is what we call the owner of the sea. Rumla says that we should measure the length and measure the breadth of things. And the hand reaches much higher than the head. So what is being shared here is that is reiterating the necessity and the need to be able to slow down and analyze how life is and how life is unfolding and being able to stay in sync and in tune with that. So here's the explanation. It says this is a teaching on moderation in our approach to life and in our truthful evaluation of our ability, potential, and possibilities. Things should be done little by little or step by step. So doing things little by little or step by step means you're taking your time. You're not rushing through things. You're slowing down. You're going through your meditations. You're going through whatever exercise that assists us in being able to slow down and reflect and go inside of self. The things should be done little by little or step by step. The text tells us for such a measured approach enables us to make adequate evaluations in our engagement and understanding of things. In a word, the text says we should measure the length and breadth of things, analyze everything from top to bottom. Things aren't always how they perceive on top. You have to begin to look at what's underneath as well and be committed, convicted in what it is that we want to introduce ourselves with, what we want to align ourselves in, what we are learning and attempting to find out about life itself and how the role that we play as a part of that. We should measure the length and the breadth of things. This also implies our need to delve into the depth of things. For the metaphor of the sash underneath of the one on top requires our going below the surface to see the difference and distinctions. And indeed, examinations of each situation itself requires depthful reflections. And it has more into it that I'm not going to read right now. Um, I'll come back at some point and revisit this, but as you get the gist of what it is I was talking about, because basically I wanted to reiterate the need for us to go and reflect on ourselves and in the relationship that we have with each other during this time of the year. Now's the time to do that. We have what this this celebration, what they call Christmas or Christ Mass, when people become more and more jolly, more gleeful around this time of the year, and they are more cheerful, more happy, and they're willing to greet people and willing to be more friendly towards each other during this time of the year. Um, you know, this is the season where this normally begins to happen, where people are slowing down enough to start becoming reflective of self and how we interact with each other. That doesn't happen by chance. That's a natural process, and those who are cognizant of that take this time to reflect on our relationship with self and our relationship with our family and our relationship with our community. So we become more friendly, we becoming more receptive, we become more inviting towards each other. We become nicer towards each other. But then after the season is over, people become shit towards each other again after the season's over with. Just imagine if we took these exercises and reflecting on our relationship with self and how we interact and with each other and the connection that we have with each other. Imagine if we exercise that or incorporated that philosophy 24/7, 365 days a year. How different life would be in this country and on this planet. Um, I'm gonna read Serenity of the As a Man Thinketh again. This is one of my gems, one of my jewels. I mean, I encourage, I encourage people to pick up this little pamphlet. Um, I keep it close by to me all the time, and I read through it. It's only it's quick read, 68 pages. And you can read through this in a matter of a few hours. I mean, it's a small book, but it has a plethora of information in it that is philosophical towards our life and how if we incorporated these are suggestions that if we incorporated these suggestions into our life, it could be more effective in our day-to-day living. So this is on page 65. This is Serenity, as a man thinketh. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. Again, we're talking about slowing down and being reflective and calming ourselves and being more committed in in our life and being more committed in growing and balancing our spiritual connection to each other. This happens during the process of us reflecting and becoming more reflective of self and sitting down and becoming more in tune with self. This doesn't happen outside of self. The process begins inside of self. So calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Going back into the lessons that were being taught with the mind mastery, the mind mastery series that was done or that we did um, in August and in July. Let me just look this up real quick. Mm, Content. Okay. So we had so we had the biology belief, which was done in August, and that was followed up with mind mastery discussion of keys to mental power. Um, and then there was the let me see, mind mastery part two, elevating to our masteries. That was done on in October the 2nd. And sandwiched in between those, there was conversations that we had with Dr. Gregory, who also reiterated the importance of keeping the mind healthy. So you can go back and look at those previous broadcast shows that were done that focuses on the mind and self mastery. So this is what James Allen is speaking about in Serenity. If you go back and look at Mastermind Part Two, I was going into that about I was discussing that in Mastermind Part Two. It is a result of long, patient effort and self control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operation of thought. A man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought evolving being, for such knowledge necessitates the understandings and of others as a result of thought, and he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect. He ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve and remains poised and steadfast, serene. The calm man, having learned how to govern himself, knows how to adapt himself to others, and they, in turn, reverence his spiritual strength and feel that they can learn of him and rely upon him. The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater his success, his influence, his power for good. Even the ordinary trader will find his business prosperity increase as he develops a greater self-control and equanimity. For people will always prefer to deal with a man whose demeanor is stronger, is strongly equable. The strong, calm man is always loved and revered. He is like a shade giving tree in a thirsty land or a sheltering rock in a storm. Who does not love a tranquil heart? Who does not love a tranquil heart? Sweet tempered, balanced life. It does not matter whether it rains or shines or what changes come to those processing these blessings, for they are always sweet, serene, and calm. The exquisite poise of character which will cause serenity is the last lesson of culture. It is the flowering of life. It is that fruit that is bared by the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold. How insignificant mere money seeking looks in comparison with a serene life. A life that dwells in an ocean of truth beneath the waves, beyond the reach of tempests, in the internal calm. How many people we know who sour their lives, I'm sorry. How many people we know who sour their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, who destroy their poise of character and make bad blood. It is a question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their lives and mar their happiness by lack of self control. How few people we meet in life who are well balanced, who have the exquisite poise which is characteristic of the finished character. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with the ungoverned grief, is blown away about anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Tempest tossed souls, wherever ye may be, under whatever conditions you may live, know this: in the ocean of life, the isles of blissness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does not sleep. He does but sleep. I'm sorry. He does but sleep. Wake him. Self control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace be still. This is from the As a Man Thinketh. This is Serenity, page 65. Going into and reiterating the importance of having a calm life, going and and becoming reflective of self, doing what is necessary to rebalance ourselves and become in sync with things that are happening in our life and around us. He goes one step further in what I indicated about stress and how stress affects us and how it prematurely ages us. Because there's an inundation of stress in our life, we age much quicker and much sooner than what we naturally should. But if we take the time to begin to reflect on what's happening with ourselves, going through the techniques that keeps us in sync and in balance with what's happening externally, and maintaining that discipline, we can start to retool our thoughts, start to train ourselves to be more calming in how we interact with ourselves and others, reducing the amount of stress in our life, becoming more beginning getting more and more adequate sleep at night that allows us to repair ourselves and rejuvenates ourselves in preparation for the coming new year in the spring. This is the time for the season for reflection. This is a time when we go down into the crypt like the sun and rejuvenates as the sun comes back out of the crypt on December the 25th, after it's been in the grave for 3 days, comes out the crypt and begins its trek back to the high point of the year, which makes its final apex in the summer or during the summer solstice, and which then starts the cycle all over again. This is how life functions and how life operates, and we should take every effort possible for us to stay in sync and in tune with the things that are happening here on this planet, and begin to encourage others to do the same. That's my message for tonight. I hope that I did a better job tonight than what I did 2 weeks ago, because yeah, that was a train wreck. Still thinking about what is going to be a name for this. I can't, as I said, we're an hour and 17 minutes in, so I damn sure can't call it a promo. Promo doesn't last for an hour and 17 minutes. Um, but I'll give it some flexion and some energy. If anyone comes up with some ideas, some names, drop a line. Do it either in Facebook or drop it in the chat on YouTube, and I'll give it some consideration. Uh, but as of right now, um, I'm at a standstill. I'll continue to reflect and come up with something. It's not like as easy as it was with the health walk. The health walk just came to me because I knew what the objective and the goal was for the health walk. But although that did take some time before I settled on that name as well, or on that title as well, I suspect that it's going to take just as much time and energy and dedication to come up with what I would name the show that occurs on Wednesdays now, and it's becoming more and more consistent that I'm going to be here every other Wednesday, just as we are here every other Thursday. So tomorrow, um, join us. Come back and be a part of this experience, the show, the energy, the blessings, the knowledge, the information, the chemistry, the direction, The oh my gosh, is there anything else that I can say? Did I say inspiration? I guess I did say inspiration. The insightfulness of this sister who is known as Heraldess Adama Alaji come back tomorrow and be a part of this experience of this show. Tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern time, here on the Health Walk, where me and my partner in power um, invites Sister Adama Alaji back to the Health Walk. Now, before I go, let me do this. Uh, let's see. Where is it? Hmm. Okay, there it is. So this again, this is the Herb 101. This is my class that I'll be back. This is the final class of this year, December the 12th at 227 Market Street, Frederick, Maryland. It's Herb 101. Um, and show me some support. And if you can, if you're in the area, come and check out the class. You can go to Eventbrite and look up the Brand Art Yoga store, Brand Art Yoga, and you should be able to purchase tickets from there. Or you can give me a call or call the number here. 301-679-0052 is my business number, or 301-514-6232. You can That's the number to the store, and inquire about the class. But I will be back. This is the final class of this year, and we'll discuss whether um, we will continue these classes going forward in the new year. I would love to do this. Definitely in for next year, I would love to at least give it some consideration. However, with the consideration and the commitment on my part, um, I also need to have people participating and becoming part of the class. Otherwise, it's all for naught. You know, if I don't get participants, or if we don't get participants in the class or to sign up for the class, then I can't teach the class. That's just how it goes. Um, but on the 12th of December, I'll be back 6 o'clock p.m. at the Brand Art Yoga store on 227 Market Street in Frederick. 6 p.m. Check it out. You can go again to Eventbrite and do a search on Brand Art Yoga, and the information should come up. Okay. But as time goes and as time flies, now it's time for me to go. I say to you before I depart that wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing tonight and going forward, do its best. Do it as best as you can in the spirit and the likeness of love and peace in your heart. Um, Always be the best that you can be, and you be the change that you want to see in your and you be the change that you want to see in life. As Michael Jackson said, you be the man in the mirror and you make that change. And the changes that you make for the positive and for the good will influence others to do the same. Until we meet again tomorrow back here at 7:30 Eastern Time on the Health Walk, where we um, receive our guest, Heraldess Adama Alaji, live here on YouTube and on Facebook. Until we meet again, peace and love all the time.